There had always been an argument that Bitcoin is a good sort of hedge against global turmoil, against central banks, et cetera. It seems to be coming to fruition right now. So how much longer is this going to last?
Yeah, institutions have spent decades looking for non-correlated assets that they can use as a diversification in their portfolio. We've been banging the drum for over a year now, saying that this is a non-correlated asymmetric asset. If you look at times of global instability, like in May, where we're kind of lobbying tariff threats and the trade wars are raging on, Bitcoin's up 55%. It's got a negative correlation, so it was negative 0.9 to S&P, negative 0.8 to gold. And I think that we're going to continue to see that play out, where there's people around the world that are electing to put their wealth into something that is controlled by software and cannot be manipulated by a single country or politician.
When we see, for instance, in the oil markets, we see a drone strike in Iran or something like that, right? You have sort of a bump in the price of oil, and that's sort of a crude premium that's built in. Are we seeing a premium built into the price of Bitcoin with this most recent rise based on the threat of a currency war? How much is that premium, do you think?
Yeah, so what you have to remember is we've seen this play out before, right? In countries like Venezuela, Iran, Argentina, et cetera, where the currency begins to fail or there's issues, we do see large upticks in volume where people are electing to take their wealth out of those currencies, put them into Bitcoin. They're small countries, though. Now we're seeing this play out in one of the largest economies in the world. And so with $27 trillion of deposits in the Chinese banks, 1% of that moves, that would double the market cap of crypto.
The question I have is, do you believe that this is a true function of outflows from China, or do you think this really is the perception of outflows, that there will be outflows from China, and therefore this is American and other investors, if you will, who are pushing the price up? Meaning, and by the way, from what I understand, it's not so easy for capital actually to leave China, despite the debates we've had on this table.
I think it's actually a combination of both, right? So there are definitely some outflows where it's occurring. You see things like in the central bank meetings, et cetera. There's reports coming out where people are talking about Bitcoin. So I definitely think that some people are doing it. At the same time, I think that what we get is a reminder, right? We understand that, look, why participate in the chaos, right? What we're basically doing is we're here to sound the alarm and say there is a way to opt out. There's a way to get diversification, to get a hedge. You don't go and sell all of your assets and put 100% into Bitcoin, right? But to size it in an institutional quality portfolio of 1 to 5% and be able to get that hedge when you have non-correlation, when you have the asymmetric return, we think that it actually can do things to the portfolio that other assets can't do.
Tony, help me become a believer, okay? Because I'm a huge skeptic of this. I have my crypto crap wallet. I put $100 into it 2 months ago at a Harvard Business School class at night. It's worth $30.62, primarily because all the other crap, Ethereum, XRP, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Stellar Luminous, blah, 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 blah. What happened to all that stuff? If this is really such a great idea, why is there only one Vegas game working?
Yeah. Well, look, I'll save you a lot of headache, right? I'm here to talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's the most important, and that's the only one that you should focus on. And the reason is we are now entering a position where it's actually irresponsible for institutions to not have exposure to this asset. And the reason is their job is to find assets that actually can provide non-correlation to the rest of the markets, especially in times of global instability where there's likely to be market drawdowns. Bitcoin is providing that. It's data. It's just math, right? It's not personal opinion. It's not somebody else's opinion. The math suggests that it is non-correlated to negatively correlated to major asset classes.
How much of your own dough is in it?
Yeah, over 50% of my net worth is in Bitcoin, and I don't plan to sell it.
I forbid that. That's insane.
You forbid that.
That breaches everything about diversification and investing. That's crazy.
How much of your net worth is in the stock market?
In any one stock, never more than 5%. In any one sector, never more than 20%. I teach this stuff. You never go beyond concentrations of that nature. 50%? Shame on you. That's nuts.
And but the assumption being that what happens here for you?
Yeah. So again, because it is a scarce asset, what you're essentially looking at is the global adoption has to continue to occur, and it's a fixed supply. It's just supply and demand economics. And I personally believe that humans will continue to trust software over other humans.
Let's just remember, they have to value what this scarce asset. There's a lot of things that are scarce that nobody cares about.
Of course. Look, if you don't believe in Bitcoin, you're essentially saying you don't believe in cryptography.
Anthony, calling Bitcoin a safe haven is a bit reckless, in my opinion, with all the hacks, that have kind of caused so much Bitcoin
the hacks
to go
aren't
away.
of Bitcoin itself. The hacks are on the exchange level, which is completely
different. But for our viewers at home who are contemplating buying Bitcoin after hearing you today, how should they think about safety in terms of the chain of custody? Who should they open an account with, trade with?
For sure. So what we do for our clients is we essentially use qualified custodians. They're very similar to what you see in the legacy system. Again, do your own research, right? Make sure that you're actually vetting these exchanges. There's a lot of exchanges out there. There's only a couple that we actually think provide quality solutions, and we've chosen to go with the ones that have that qualified custodian articulation.
Tell me why this, which is basically a digital game, that's the way I look at it, has any intrinsic value. When people actually put real money into this, they make no interest, they can't pay their taxes with it, the regulators don't like it, which is always a problem for compliance. And where's the long-term value? Just this idea that they're going to cut the number of units in half, such a scam. Like, that's just totally BS.
So I would say two things. One is it's disruptive technology. So if you look at it from a technology standpoint.
But that also has an odor of BS to it.
Look, everything that's new seems different, right, in the beginning. And I think what you've got to realize is with Bitcoin specifically, money is a belief system. So the U.S. dollar, the only reason why you and I use it is because we believe it has value. So if I give you $1, you give me a good or service in exchange. Right. We believe that it has value. Bitcoin has value because two people who exchange it believe it has that value. And what we're seeing is the volume, right? Look at people using it. That's ultimately what matters.
What about all the other crypto crap? There's lots of other coins.
I believe Bitcoin is the king and is going to stay the king for a very long time.
So I taught a class at Harvard 18 months ago that young people in that class challenged me. I put $100 into something called Coinbase, which is a wallet thing. And
you buy Bitcoin?
I bought them all. I bought all the crypto crap. I put $100 in. It's now worth 30.
30.
That's a 70% loss on my crypto crap. Now, I bought them all. I think that really sucks. And I think people should understand today the hot digital is Bitcoin. Tomorrow it could be whatever, right?
Again, I think that Bitcoin, the reason why Bitcoin is getting so much attention, it's the best performing asset in the last decade. Right, it's drastically outperformed S&P, every other kind of financial asset that's out there. And the second thing is the institutions are coming in because Bitcoin is actually a better store of value. It's more transparent and more secure. So regulators, they actually like Bitcoin in the sense of law enforcement can track criminal activity. Right, every single transaction is done on a public ledger.
I'm not sure the law enforcement loves Bitcoin.
I've interviewed a DA agent who came on, and they would love for criminals to use Bitcoin over U.S. dollars and cash, right? It's much more traceable. And so what law enforcement is saying is they want these digital currencies used, Bitcoin specifically, because of the public nature of the transactions, easier to track the criminal activity.
After the fact?
After the fact, yeah, of course. Well, U.S. dollars, you can't track it before or after.
Last time this had a big run up to 20,000 and people started talking about assets with it, the SEC was handing out subpoenas like birthday cards.
They were doing it for the ICOs. So ICOs are essentially people who took the concept of a blockchain or a cryptocurrency token, and they were using it for fundraising for companies. And so you can imagine if you go out and solicit funds from investors and you do nefarious things, the SEC cares and they want to come talk to you.
That was basically fraud. I mean, you're talking about instances of fraud. And the fact of the matter is Bitcoin has been acting pretty well in respect to the recent bad news hitting the sector. We had a hack of Binance, and then we also have the New York AG bringing charges against Tether and Bitfinex, and the coin has done
Melissa, if it's a real currency,
well.
Why can't I pay my taxes with it?
You
why
can.
does the IRS take it?
You can. In the state of Ohio, they accept Bitcoin as for taxes, and there's other states that are working on it now.
Federally, you think it'll ever get there?
For sure.
Wow, you're an optimist.
When?
I'm not in the business of making bets on the federal government's regulatory decisions.
Do we hit the past highs again?
I definitely think that we will, right? Again, it's
what sort of time frame?
Look, that's the hard part. The way that I think to look at this, it's a non-correlated asymmetric return asset. And we definitely, in my opinion, we've hit the bottom of the bear market. We've now entered into this bull market. Historically, about a year out from that halving period is when that kicks off. It wouldn't surprise me if we enter kind of a 2 to 3 year bull market now. And 20,000, I think, will be a blip on the radar, just like previous past highs were.
Only Bitcoin,
only Bitcoin.
No other crypto crap.
I'm not here to talk about anything else but Bitcoin.
It seems you would think that if it's all boats would rise in this tide of crypto.
So for your portfolio, here's the number one thing I can tell you as to why you should own Bitcoin. It's a non-correlated asymmetric return asset that the value drivers of all of your equities, everything else is tied to earnings, GDP, interest rates, et cetera.
The problem is that Bitcoin's not tied to anything.
Well, neither is U.S. dollars, and how big is your cash position?
You know, I look, I love your optimistic view of it. You haven't changed my mind at all. It's still garbage, and I'm not going to take real money and put it into this thing. It's never going to happen. I mean, imagine real money, taking real dollars that I'm making in cash 2.1% on and putting it into crypto crap.
Agree to disagree.
Absolutely.
Okay, so your crypto crap garbage.
Garbage is better than garbage.
Right.
He keeps saying accoutrement. He's got
He's
this
got the
French thing
accoutrement,
going
he's got the garbage.
I think a little colorful language is necessary when discussing Bitcoin. There's no question about it.
Okay, Anthony, thank you.